Hello, 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 everyone. Very good morning. I am in Boston today, and I have a very special guest for the 1% Club podcast. My name is Thales Peterson. I am your host, and I've gone to a few podcasts. And what I've done, I invited the people that I was a guest on their podcast to come into my newly started podcast, the 1% Club, where my idea is to show people that nothing really happens overnight. It's a process, things take time, things really take the amount of required time for you to learn the skills, master. So, my idea is to show other people what it really takes, how long it takes for people to learn skills, to master them, to be better, to improve. And also, the other thing that my objective is to tell people it's not a matter of avoiding difficulties, hardships, problems, failures, is learn how to deal with it when they come. So, my objective is to teach all the participants, teach, help, and exchange ideas with my guests so everybody can learn a little bit about what it takes in order to achieve success and not only financial success, but most importantly, how do you feel inside doing what you love doing? So, my guest today is Igor. Igor is the host of the Athletic School podcast that I had the pleasure to go. And it was such an incredible conversation between him and I. Very smart guy that dives very deep into quite a few of the topics that I am also very much fascinated about. He's also Brazilian. He lives in the US, and I'm going to let him introduce himself a little bit more. But Igor, thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here. And I hope we can have a great conversation just like I had with you when I was on your podcast. So, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Like you said, the podcast, when you came to my podcast, the episode was wonderful. Cannot even mention how many highlight reels I made from you talking. It was great. Thanks for the kind words. And yes, I'm from Brazil as well. I am in Cincinnati at the moment. I work for FC Cincinnati, and I'm also coaching on the side and trying to build the athletic school and trying to reach more people. I came to the US 2018 to play soccer, got my bachelor's, associate, my master degree through soccer, and now I'm here working for FC Cincinnati, and trying to help athletes. I love talking about this. I loved our conversation, not only because of the things that you said, but just simply for the fact that we were able to connect. And I think just talking to people, uh, mine liked it. It's just we'll talk about it later, but it creates us a feeling, gives us that dopamine, that oxytocin that we're gonna talk later. Um, so it was great, and I hope we do have a great conversation. I I think I can share a few things, and people might be able to relate, especially from us being from Brazil, uh,
Yeah.
being here for a long time. We all have different perspectives on how we look at things here in the US. But I think a lot of international students that might be listening to this can relate to my story a little bit. So
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about the very beginning. You are also from São Paulo, like me. You played for AD Guarulhos,
mhm.
very close to where I actually grew up. So tell us a little bit more. How did it all start? How did you get involved playing soccer? Any family influences? Any brothers? Any cousins? How
Mhm.
how how did that go? Dad, that was the one taking you around. How did that all start?
Yeah. I think everything started simply for being around soccer all the time, like it is for every single Brazilian growing up. Uh, and I think as a kid, we all dream of being a professional soccer player, right? So I was never talented. I'm gonna be honest, but I worked really really hard. Had a great goalkeeper coach. I was a goalkeeper, and I would train with him all the time.
At what age did you start?
I mean, I always play like in those clubs that we have, the escolinha that we have, that it's like,
Uh-huh.
or it's not necessarily recreational, but it's a little bit organized, but it's not competitive as much. Trying to get to academy, and then so I mean, I was always trying to, but then when I was around 12, 13, that's when I found the coach, the goalkeeper coach, and I started learning more about the process. And but I wasn't able to get into any academies until I was 16. That's when I joined the AD Guarulhos.
Were you always a goalkeeper or did you start off on the field?
I was always a goalkeeper. I was a goalkeeper.
From an early age.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow, okay, okay.
Yeah, I
And
remember.
why the interest of being a goalkeeper?
Yeah, I think there was one training session that I wasn't playing goal, and and I remember looking at the goalkeepers, and every time they made a save, they would cheer and like it was a goal. And I was like, that's so interesting. Like, why are they cheering like that? You know? And I was just like, oh, this sounds so much easier in a way. I was very young, but like I think I want to try that. You know, I feel like it was different than everybody else, and that's something that I always had in mind. Like, I don't want to be like everybody else. If I want to try to become a professional soccer player, I'm only going to stop when I become a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be like everybody else. Like, oh yeah, I try, but my knee hurts, and no, I knew that I didn't want to do that. So I think it was, in a way, it was me trying to be different in a way. So, and I when I saw them cheering so much, I was like, okay, I want to try that out. And then once I started getting into it, I just couldn't leave the position anymore.
Feeling that high, right?
Exactly, exactly. And you know, for you, for most of the people, it's scoring a goal, but for us, it's making saves. It's the same feeling. It's the same feeling. Um,
Well, and for the ones listening or watching us here, in Brazil, all the kids they want to do a lot of, they want to do fancy footwork and maximum and
yeah,
score a goal. And what happens usually, I'm not saying it was your case, but what usually happens is the guy that's not too skillful or it's not the quickest one is like, he's the last one to be chosen to be on the team. Is like, all right, you get in goal. So to hear someone that from an early age already wanted to be different than other people, did that come, do you feel like that came from the way you were raised by your parents? Was there someone that you looked up to that had that type of mentality? Where do you think that came about?
Um, I don't, I don't really know where it came from. My mom always supported me. My parents got divorced when I was young. My dad never really supported. He never watched me play. Which it was something hard for me in the beginning, especially when you go
Absolutely.
play. You know that everyone has their dads. Nobody has their moms there. It's
Yeah.
a little weird when you have your mom there. Like, why is your mom here? Where's your dad? So I think, and especially being a mom's of the goalkeeper, it's even harder for her. There's many occasions that she was behind the goal and people were calling me names, and she was going crazy. And I was
Especially when the goalkeeper makes a mistake.
exactly, yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Mom, please don't even come, because like you're gonna get mad at them, and I'm
You're
gonna
gonna be
be
called very bad names.
yeah." So
Yeah.
let's not do that. Um, so I don't know where it came from, but I think it was just like I knew that I wasn't like everybody else. I wasn't very skillful like everybody else in a way, but I knew
Yeah.
that if I could just work hard, you know, I had a chance to do it.
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
like being a goalkeeper, it was something that okay, at that age, I was tall for a 13-year-old. I ended up not being that tall, but
Yeah,
I was tall enough that people will look at me like, okay, he's a big guy, so it's a good thing to have him in goal. So I think it's something that just happened in a way, but my grandparents, my family supported me as much as they could. Um, but I don't know where it came from, but I definitely had that eager to like, okay, I'm not like everybody else because I cannot juggle the ball the same way that everyone does, clearly.
that
uh,
everyone else. Yeah, yeah.
so for me it was just like a thing about like, okay, I cannot do that, but maybe I can be a goalkeeper.
Nice, nice, nice. So you said you went to AD Guarulhos at age 16.
Yeah,
How
so
were you selected? Did you go on a tryout? Did you have someone there that invited you? Did you knock on the door and say, "Hey,
yeah,
can I
so
join?"
it was a lot of knocking on the door, but then I was able to get there, and they had a very different way of doing things there. The kids were paying to play. So I went
Oh,
there.
okay.
I went there. I did really good, and they called my mom and were like, "Look, we really want Igor to join, but it's only 300 a month." And I was like, "Wait a second, I did not know that. Like, how are you guys asking? Like, we're playing against Santos, São Paulo, Corinthians. We're playing the
So
Paulista."
what's the difference between the US system and the Brazil system when they're little? In Brazil, what happens?
I mean, it's very different. It Soccer, I feel like here it's definitely a sport for the rich because everyone pays to play unless you are playing for an academy, which is uh, unusual in a way, unfortunately. But so in Brazil, you either training to get to an academy or you're not you are not doing anything. So in Brazil, how it works, I mean, it's huge. So there's so many teams, so many clubs, so many different academies. And AD Guarulhos was one of the teams. We had a professional team, U21, U17, and everyone plays against everyone. So, the I don't know, the soccer club that plays here, they also play against FC Cincinnati. In Brazil, that's how it usually works. But here in the US, it's a little bit different. If you are playing for an academy, you're only playing teams from MLS teams, right? So you're not playing
Yeah,
against random clubs. But in Brazil, it's a little bit different. So that's usually what happens. You're playing for a smaller team, a smaller club. You shouldn't be paying for those. And then if you're doing good, then those big teams like Santos, São Paulo, Corinthians, Palmeiras, they come and get you from those small teams. But yeah, I was playing for AD Guarulhos. I mean I was able to join. They called my mom, and I lived 3 hours away from there.
oh
Getting
wow,
Yeah,
okay,
so I would get like four different transportations to get there, and I would go.
wow.
I did high school at night, so I could practice in the morning. Um, so my mom was like,
All of that because you were chasing the dream of trying to
exactly.
become a pro player.
Yeah, and my mom was
Yeah,
like, "Look, we cannot pay for that. Like, we need him. We need you guys to pay him so he can pay for transportation in a way, you know." But so they waived that fee for me. They needed a keeper. I was much better than the keepers that they had. Um, but yeah, and then I was able to join them. So I played the U17 there.
yeah.
Um, and then after it was done, I was looking for other things. I wasn't there anymore just because it was such a hustle to get there. But it was complicated. I would leave my
So
house. Go ahead.
did you go back and forth every day? They didn't have dorms for you there to stay?
Every single day, I would leave my house around 9:30, 10, and then I would get back at 12 because I would go to practice, and then practice. I would go to school at night, and then
Oh, so you would go to school close to where the club was?
not necessarily. It was kind of far. So it would take me, so practice would be like at 2 p.m. So I would leave my house at 10. I would get there at 1:30. So I would
Yeah.
practice from 2 to 4. I would have to be at school around 6 or 7. So it would take me another 2, 3 hours to get to school. And then I would be in school for like another 3 hours. So I would leave school 10, 10:30, and then I would get home at 11:30, almost 12,
That
sometimes.
is a long day.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was tough, like I don't know. I would not eat a lot, but I would do everything I could. I wouldn't change anything either. I think I learned a lot. I read a lot of books
Absolutely.
on the bus. I listened to a lot of podcasts on the way there too. So it was definitely a time for me to grow. But yeah, after we were done, we didn't do as good in the championship, so nothing really happened.
Yeah.
After that, I had the opportunity to join the U20, where we played the Copa São Paulo, which is the biggest academy tournament in the world. There's more than 100
For
teams,
the same
if I'm not mistaken.
club.
For the same club, for the same club.
Got
Um,
it. Yeah.
and we did we did decent. We did decent. It was very a different experience. We got to play against Flamengo of Guarulhos, so it was like a derby.
Yeah.
It was good. But then we tie a game, and then we lost to Avaí, which is a big team from the south, and it
Yeah.
was not even making the playoffs.
You
But
didn't get out of the group.
no, we didn't.
Okay.
But it was good.
Great experience though.
Yes, yes, definitely a different experience. We got to stay in a hotel, see I never thought about playing that Copa São Paulo because it's such a huge tournament. But
Biggest youth tournament in Brazil for sure.
yeah, I think in the world, if I'm not mistaken, because there's nothing bigger than that. Um, but yeah, it was
So many,
was
so
great.
many top level pros come out of that tournament.
100%. Yeah, if you see Neymar, all these guys, they always play that
Oh,
tournament. So.
Kaká, Robinho,
Mhm.
you name it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and then that was my time at Guarulhos, and then how we started. I started playing for another team closer to my house, um, where
Where did you live at this point? Where are you living?
I was living in São Bernardo, which is like
Okay.
the
Okay.
metro area of São Paulo, kind of.
Yeah.
Still very far from each other because it's so big. Uh, but then I was able to join the professional team that we had in São Bernardo. It's like the fourth division of the Paulista São Paulo Championship.
Was
Uh,
that B1B?
it's we would call Little B, Bezinha.
Bezinha. It's the same one I played.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so it was good. I was the youngest guy there. I think I learned a lot just from seeing everyone. I didn't get to play, but I was every single day there with the team. Um,
Training, going to matches.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, it was good. It was a great experience. But then I was going to school at the same time, so I was going to college at the same time. So it was starting to get a little complicated where, in Brazil, we don't have college sports. So I had to pick, do I go to practice or do I go to school? And
Yeah.
do I miss class? Do I leave practice early? So it became a dilemma for me every single day. Um, and I just didn't see a future there anymore. That's when the idea to come to the US started to get bigger because I see more people coming. And I was like, okay, this guy is not as good as I am, and he's doing okay, so I think I can probably make it. So I started the process of learning on how to do it and how to come. And
Okay.
I think maybe so I dropped out of the university I was going to. I had a scholarship, uh, but
That's
but
it. So in Brazil, just so
in
people
yeah,
understand
in Brazil, yeah, I
the
was in
concept.
Brazil.
So what happens in Brazil is we don't have sports in college. You just attend college and basically that's it. You just go to study.
Mhm,
Or if you are good enough, if you become a pro soccer player, those are the ones that play for let's just say the first division clubs and things like that. They
mhm,
make enough money to make that their living. So how did you get into university? What was the selection process like? What did you start studying? And you already said it was hard balancing playing on the pro team and going to school. And what was the final thought? Like, I don't think this is the life, this is the path I want to take. Maybe it's better if I go to school, if I continue my career. Like you
Yeah.
said, I see other people going to the US. So what's going on at that point?
Yeah, so I remember we had a trip that we went to somewhere in the countryside of Brazil to play a friendly game. And that I was playing for the professional team there, the São Bernardo. And
Yeah,
then we got into the bus, and the bus was in terrible shape. Um, and then I sat down by some of the other guys, the older guys that they were there, and they are like 27, 30. At that age, I was like 17, 18.
yeah,
Um, and then I just remember looking at the bus and I was like, I hate this. I do not want to be in this bus. Um, but part of me, I'm like, okay, but I'm only, 18, 19. I can't remember how old I was.
yeah.
But then I look on my side and there's this 30-year-old guy on my side on the same situation. And I'm like, I do not want to be him. So I
I don't see myself being a 30-year-old doing this.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's when I kind of like, okay, I don't think it's not that it isn't for me. It's just like this is not what I want. Like
yeah,
when I
yeah,
think about being a professional soccer player, this like I'm down to grind, I'm down to do the hustle and all of it, like I have been doing. But at the same time, I don't want to go to a game on this bus when I'm 30 years old, Like I'm
yeah.
able to do whatever it takes to get there, but I have to get there. This cannot be the ending goal.
And this is not it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, so I started looking into people to come here. There's a many agencies in Brazil that do that, bring athletes here, they connect the coaches and all of that. Um, and so I was able to join an agency there, and so I started training with them, getting ready to come.
yeah.
Um, so at that point, I was like, I'm not gonna finish university in Brazil, so I'm just gonna drop out. Um,
What
and
were you studying?
I was trying nutrition. So
Okay,
I think honestly, I think that was the hardest part because I got a 50% scholarship to go to school there, and it was only me and another person that had the scholarship. But if I dropped out, I was not able to come back.
okay. So that
So
was it. That's a big decision. That's a big
yeah,
moment.
yeah, and I think thank God to my mom. She was like, "Look, if you wanna go, just do it, and if it doesn't work, you come back and you have to pay, we'll figure out. But I mean, if you go, just go. Like if you go, have to go all in. Like we can just halfway be there and halfway be here. So
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 at this moment, if you drop the scholarship that you have in Brazil, are you already accepted to come to the US? Do you already have a place, or it's still uncertain? Is basically a gamble.
it was a gamble. It was definitely a gamble because
Wow. Okay.
yeah, because when I joined the agency, I joined them just for them to represent me, and to
Yeah.
show my
Yeah.
highlights to the coaches. Um, and then when it gets interesting, because anyway, fasting forward like about 6 months, so I was able to come. Um, but they of course they charge you for that for the work that they have done.
Of course.
Um,
That's how they make their money.
Exactly. And when I get here, so I went to a very small community college in Kansas. A lot of Brazilians were going there because it was very, very cheap, cost of living. So it was, and that was the best I could find. Like I got some offers from other schools, but like, oh, you have to pay only $10,000 a year. I'm like, wait a second. If I had $10,000 a year, I wouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I got there. there was 60 people on the team. For a soccer team, it's
60, 60?
60. Yeah. And if you
Wow.
know, it shouldn't be more than 30 because 30 is already a lot. So,
30, maybe 30 if you have four goalkeepers.
exactly. So 66 goalkeepers. Um,
Wow. Okay.
we got there at that town. It was like 3 hours from the airport. They were gonna let us stay in the dorms for a week until we could find a house. We got to the dorms, terrible, dirty, insects crawling the wall and everything.
Bad shape. Yeah.
Yes, and the next day we had practice at 6 a.m. And then you get to practice, you see that the coach has its favorites and all of that. You can figure out, okay, this guy is playing, this guy is not playing, this guy might play if someone gets hurt, you know. And then I remember calling my mom. I was like, Mom, I don't know if I can do it because I cannot live this way. This is not working out. And I remember I was in the bathroom, I was crying and talking to her, and she was like, "Look, try it a few more weeks. If it doesn't work, come back. That's it."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and then I stayed and I'm here until now. But it was,
Oh, so you stayed in there.
yeah, I did stay there.
Okay.
It was,
Okay.
it wasn't easy. I didn't play as much as I wanted to play.
Well,
But
in your position specifically, being a goalkeeper is difficult because it's so challenging to, it's so hard to
yeah.
beat up another guy because, as a coach myself, you do have your favorite goalkeeper
Mhm.
that you trust, and
Yeah.
you play him no matter what. And it's a position that's difficult for you to trust the guy that hasn't played before, or like that he is a backup. You see
Yeah.
clearly in that position you have a starter and you have a backup. So when you
Hmm.
have six guys, that makes it even more difficult, like
Yeah.
really more difficult.
Yeah. And I think I was definitely, I wouldn't say I was the best, but I wasn't even the worst. I was doing pretty good. And then I remember the first year I got a red shirt. So if you don't play, you were able to play later,
Yeah.
because you didn't use any of the minutes that you had. Uh, so going to the second year, I always try to watch things around me, right? And it was me and this other goalkeeper, Brazilian goalkeeper, lovely guy, but love to kiss the coach's ass, to be
Oh,
completely
one of
honest.
those. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But like to the point that like knock at the coach's door every single day. Hey coach, how are you doing? Here's some coffee for you. And and I remember always talking to my mom, and she was like, "Oh, look, you have to start doing that too if you want to play." And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I told her, like, "Mom, this is not me. Like, I'm not gonna do this. Like, I
I
want
don't
to
have
play
that
because I'm good.
personality.
Yeah, I want to play because I'm good. Uh, but I'm not gonna fake it. I'm not gonna act in my way into playing." And and that's what happened. At the end of the year, the second year, I didn't play as much as him. And honestly, he did decently good. But there were mistakes that he made it, and he never came out because he was doing okay.
The coach's favorite,
Yeah,
also.
exactly.
Yeah.
And he got to the point that like, oh, we have to play the American players that they don't have any scholarships, and let's leave Igor right there. He's not complaining. He's not doing anything. You know what I mean? Even though I was just as good as a goalkeeper. But I had peace of mind because I knew that I wasn't doing anything wrong. That wasn't something that, of course, I could improve. Of course, I could be a better goalkeeper. You know what I mean?
Of
But
course.
to my efforts, I was doing everything I could. But yeah, I mean, and then at the end of that, I was able to transfer
So
that.
how long do you stay there? Because you went through three colleges. You
Yeah.
get you got your associates, you got your bachelors, you got your masters. That's why, guys, I was saying that he's a very smart guy, and you have to see this as a learning opportunity. Even though in the very beginning you told your mom, I don't think I can do this. One day at a time, little by little. Again, it comes back to what I always say is you got to do what you can with what's in front of you. Don't try to think about too far ahead, especially when you're going through the difficulties, the tough moments. Take it one day at a time and really see what happens. So you were able to stay. You end up staying for how long at this school, and what is the next step that happens after that?
Yeah, so I stayed there for 2 years. I got my bachelor's degree. Well, not my bachelor's, my associate's degree because it was a community college. Uh,
Okay.
and that's when COVID happens, and a lot of things on the outside was happening as well. I met a lot of people. There's a old lady there. I still talk to her. I call her grandma. I was able to be the president of the student senate at the school. So
Wow.
a lot of good things happened too. Um,
How did you meet her?
I went to church. I went to church. Me and a friend of mine. We lived in a house with 8 people. There was 2 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms. And he was
Wow.
one of the guys that went with me to the church that day. And she came to us with her husband, and was like, "Oh, how are you guys doing?" And us with our broken English, just saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." She asking us to go to lunch after church. So
Yeah, yeah.
we did, and I mean, it was great. Like, we're able to help her around the house, but like Thanksgiving, Christmas, we were always there. Um,
Oh, so you guys became part of her family.
yes, yes, and I still talk to her. I
Wow.
still talk to her. So there was definitely something good that came out of it. Um,
We'll get into this a little bit later, but that to me is what I call is the hand of God that really it puts the right people in your path, and it's no coincidence, it's no accident, because as someone that has gone through a lot of difficulties, adversities, the special occasions for someone that lives in a different country,
100%.
holidays, birthdays, uh, any kind of thing that makes you miss home when you don't have anywhere to go, you don't have anyone to be with. Those moments are when you really feel like, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? Should I leave? Should I take off? But when you have a special soul like that that invites you into their home, it makes the journey a little bit easier for you to be able to handle. So what a blessing that was for you and this other friend, because you guys basically became, did they have their own kids, or did you guys basically you became their kids?
I mean, they were an old couple, like on their 80s. So they had
Yeah,
kids that moved out a long time
all
ago.
grown with their own
Yeah,
families. Yeah,
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 exactly. So we end up being a little bit of their family too.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I I have so many people. I have probably a list of people that helped me. A lot of people that didn't help us and they could have, but definitely I can see many hands of God around my journey here that like I don't know how I would make without these people. So
yeah. Wow, that is so awesome. So what's next? What comes? And I'm sorry, I cut you off a little bit.
no, no, that's fine. And then after that, COVID happened, but then I transferred to another school in Ohio, in Toledo, Ohio. So almost all the way up there to Michigan. Very cold, but it was good. I was able to play more. I was able to meet more people. It was a bigger city, so it was definitely a better experience. When I got there, we had not a lot as many Brazilians, but the Brazilians that we had was like 6 or 7. Everyone was very close together.
Yeah. And you
So
went there to study what? What was the
yeah, I
next
went there
step in your career?
to study and to play and to finish my bachelor's degree. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I was able to play more. Didn't I didn't play as much as I wanted to play. If I could, I would play every single game, but that's not how things go. But yeah, I was able to play more. I was able to get some awards. I was working a lot around the school, so I get to meet a lot of people as well. The city was bigger. Um, so the Brazilians that were there definitely welcomed me in a much better way than the other school. Uh,
Yeah, the one in Kansas.
yes, yes, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah, it was great. I was able to graduate there for my bachelor's. My mom was able to come to the graduation, and I was able to speak on the graduation. Um,
What a moment.
yes, yeah, it
Can you
was.
tell us a little bit more? How did she feel? How did you feel? How was that experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was it was huge, to be honest. I think I didn't understand how big it was until after my speech and people came to me. Um, I I wrote a speech from heart and I said everything the way I wanted to say.
If
Uh,
you don't mind me asking, what did you talk about? How was the like the basis of your speech?
yeah, so I mean a lot about my family, to be honest. But I think I talk a lot about my grandpa, how he didn't even finish high school. My grandma, and all of that. I remember finishing with a Marcus Aurelius quote saying, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Because
Uh-huh.
throughout the speech, I was talking about all the hard times I had, but how blessed I was for all the difficult times that I also had. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and then at the end, I knew my family was watching from home, and so I was able to finish in Portuguese. Uh,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I mean, my mom was right there. So I remember she was crying a lot. Um, and I remember people were talking like on the stands and people listen and they talk to me after like, oh my God, this is so much better from the big past guest speakers that we had.
Yeah.
A lot of important people from the school came and talked to me and how they related to those things as well. Um,
Yeah.
and I think just being an international student, being up there was huge for me because I mean we don't see a lot of international students doing that. We have a lot of international students in the US, but it takes a lot to to get there and be able to stand up and like okay let me do this. So it was good. I talk a lot about my family, a lot of the struggles that I had, but how a lot of people in the school welcomed me in a way and made me feel like I was at home as much as
Yeah.
possible. Yeah, so it was good. I mean, it was
What a
uh,
special moment.
a great time. Yeah.
So again, guys, it goes back to one of the reasons why I have this podcast is to show people that no matter what you do, where you are, where you start, where you come from, this is a guy that just a few years before is thinking about quitting. It's going really difficult. There's 60 guys on the team, six goalkeepers, and now he's graduating with a bachelor's degree, and he's speaking from his heart about the struggles that actually helped him become who he is, an international student, and now is fluent in English. He's not afraid to speak in front of hundreds of
Mm.
people. And when you hear about very important people from the school, how they can relate, it's exactly what we're talking about. They also have gone through very difficult times, struggles, but they also, some way, somehow, made it through. And also, again, what I say about there's no coincidences where God puts the right people at the right time in our path. So I bet that made you feel really, really proud, proud of yourself, proud of your family, proud of your past, because that's exactly what you needed. And A lot of times people want to deny where they come from. They want to hide their past, but you are who you are today because of the struggles that you had. So in this moment, when you finish the speech, when your mom is crying, what goes through your mind? Can you describe to us what happens next? What's in Igor's mind at this point? Man, I've come a long way, but I am not satisfied. I want more. When do you start the masters? Do you go right away? Can you describe to us a little bit what happens next?
Yeah, I think, and I think a lot of people relate to that, but I think I always have a hard time being present and enjoying the small victories that I had. But I remember after having my mom there, I remember going to this vegan restaurant that we had in town that was so good, and I was so happy to be there, and I was just eating, and I wasn't nervous anymore because I was so nervous to talk and do the speech.
Of
um
course, yeah.
so so I was able to, I remember after that I was able to enjoy myself a little bit, and I think
Take a
it
deep
was
breath, relax, be in the moment. Yeah, yeah,
for sure, yeah, and having my mom there, and it felt like I had achieved something, even though, like, for me it wasn't big, like, oh, congratulations, you graduated. And for me it was like, okay, that's, I never saw that as an achievement in a way, because for me it was like, everyone can do this, this is not hard to do it at all. But I felt like when I stopped and I was looking back, how, not necessarily how hard school was, but how hard it was from away from my family, from my mom specifically, being by myself, struggling financially, and then not playing as much as you wanted to be playing, and relationships and all of that, going south. And I think just stopping for a moment and like, okay, I got it, everything, it was worth it.
yeah, yeah.
So it was definitely, I remember spending that day like, okay, this was good. But now it's time to get back to work. Uh, and that's when I had an options as an international student. We can either work a year after we graduate, or
Uh-huh.
we could do a master's or something like that. For me, I still had one more year to play because of COVID. Um, so so I decided to do my master's and use that year to play because I didn't feel like I was done playing. Uh,
Your master's at the same school.
so no, it's an interesting fact, but when you are an international student, you have to do a master's program that it's either like in person or hybrid. Otherwise, you are not
Okay.
allowed to stay in the country. And my school didn't offer that.
Oh, okay.
So I had to find somewhere else to go. And I mean, I wanted to stay because I felt not necessarily comfortable, but like I knew that if I stayed there, I would accomplish so much more because I already knew how everything worked and everything
You
else.
were already familiar. Yeah,
Exactly. It wasn't exactly about being comfortable, but like I know how to thrive here.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that wasn't an option. So I was able to get a scholarship in another school in Louisiana. So I was all the way up north. I went all the way down to south. Um, and I went to Louisiana for my master's. When I got there, I saw that things weren't the way that I thought they would be. Didn't
Yep.
didn't love the school. The master's program wasn't truly hybrid. It was more like online, and we would just meet once in a while. So
Okay.
I was inside my apartment like all the time. I wasn't doing much. Um,
Wow. Okay.
the town that we were was very small as well, so hard to find a job. Cafeteria wasn't really hiring, and they would pay minimum wage even if they hired you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do now?
This is tough to get by. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm like, I just can't believe that this is happening again.
Here
But
we go again.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
one of
yeah.
the other guys that was in the same situation as me, he's from Brazil as well, Mateus. He was my roommate. And I definitely couldn't do without him because we were in the same situation. We were kind of like on the same mindset where we're like, okay, I'm not happy with this, but we're here. Let's make it work. So um, so we had an option to do a master's of 2 years or a fast-paced master for a year. And I was like, yeah, let's do 1 year, get this thing done, and then we'll figure something out after.
Fast pace. I want to get as quick as I can.
Exactly. So it wasn't a very good experience. So the school was very strict in some things. The school was very religious, and I trust in God, I believe in God, and all of that. But they're pushing that a lot. So
Only their way, their religious beliefs on the students.
yes, yes, and like every discussion board would have to to talk about.
Agree with them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was complicated. Um, but I made that wonderful friendship with my friend from Brazil as well, which we're still in contact. I was able to get an internship in a huge company there in town, um, that helped me, in many different ways. So the
when
season.
you say when you say I couldn't have done without him, was there any specific moment? Did anything specifically happen that you were like, oh my gosh, I don't think this is the place for me? Am I going somewhere? What specifically did he do, or did you do to him, or was it a combination of things?
Mm.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. I think we were on the same boat. And I think when we come to the US, you know, we, in social media nowadays, we talk about monk mode and being by yourself and being alone, a lot, all of that. But in reality, and studies show us that in order to thrive, you have to be part of a community, right? You have to
We're
have.
social creatures.
Exactly. So we can succeed alone, right? And I think he, like, I was alone by myself there, but because he was on the same boat, because he was older as well, older than the other guys, and we were going through the same things, and he saw the same things that I was seeing in terms of how the coach handled some of the players, how the school was being with us, and all of that. Um, so I think just having that connection, that relation, that human relation with someone else, that we're able to talk about stuff, and we'll talk about the athletic school after. But like he was also big on social media and reading books and all of that and running. So we're able to connect in many different ways. And I felt like if he wasn't there, I would definitely have left the school and not even finish my master's because like to, the school was tough. We didn't go to class, so we didn't have friends. Like with the soccer team, well, we see them at practice, but everyone else see each other in class, but we only see
Yeah.
each other for 1 hour a day. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
so it was tough, but I think he like, and we talked about so many things. We were able to open up with each other and like, look, I don't know what to do with this, and we were able to be honest with each other. And like,
Yeah, yeah.
I think you should just work hard. I think you're doing fine, or no, I think you suck. And we were able
Yeah,
to
yeah.
say those things, and we still talk. And I think he's gonna come here to help me move soon. So
Oh
we
wow, that's
we
awesome.
definitely like we're able to talk to each other like that, and it was definitely very, very helpful.
That's what I call you found a friend, you found someone that you developed the type of relationship that I have with a lot of my students, my players, is be able to tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And to me, there's a big difference because a
Mhm.
lot of times we need to hear the truth. And sometimes it's not that the truth only hurts, the truth makes you be self accountable. And we all have a tendency to think, oh, but if so and so did something for me, if the situation was better, if the situation was different. And that's the moment that the truth comes in, where you go deep inside and you go, what can I do at this point? And to me, it always comes back to how can I get better? How
Hmm.
can I evolve what I can do in this moment? How can I personally grow? So again, it's not a matter of avoiding the difficulties, is what is the lesson that this situation is teaching me so I can continue going forward. And again, the hand of God putting someone in the same position as you, it's like it gives you fuel to continue going, to continue believing, to stay in the path. Like, all right, I'm going to go a little bit more, even though this is not ideal, this is not perfect, this is, it's not what they had told me that it was going to be hybrid. I'm all doing online, but I'm already here. It is what it is, and I'm going to make the best out of it. So
Hmm.
what happens next? What's the journey? Where is the journey taking you now?
Hmm. Yeah, and before I go into that, you said something very important, like being a coach and telling players what they need to hear, not what they wanted to hear, right? And I think I had many conversations with coaches that they always told me not necessarily what I wanted to hear, but always trying to be polite, always trying not to hurt my feelings, and then never helped me, And I think I know many coaches are listening to us and will listen to you as well. And I think it's important for people to understand that, like, I don't know, I think for me personally, there's no value if I'm gonna tell you something just to make you feel good. I think that if I care about
You
you,
don't grow.
yeah, if I care about you, I'll tell you what you have to hear. It's up to you if you're gonna accept it or not, right? Because especially, and I feel like here, maybe in the US, it's a little bit more, but there is when it comes to business and all of that, like, oh no, you can say this, you can say that, you have to use the words, and as a ESL speaker, we sometimes we lack the vocabulary, but I think it's important to be ourselves and like, look, I think this is wrong. Like, why are you guys not talking about this? Why are we not doing this? Like, tell me what I have to do. Why am I not playing? Why are you playing him? Like, I cannot understand why he's playing over me. So please tell me that I suck and I'll get back to work. You know what I mean? But don't tell me like, oh no, but this and that. No, no, no. Like, please, no, I don't need that talk. I need you to be raw and tell me what I have to hear. And again, if people don't want to listen, if people are not open-minded to take that feedback and then go work on themselves, then it's their fault, right? And I think that's something that I'm trying my best to, like, I don't want to hurt people's feeling, but at the same time, like, look, I'm telling you because I care about you and I want you to be better. And everyone can just say a bunch of things like that. And there was actually and I don't care, but I was talking to Mateus, this friend, and
Yeah.
we're talking about my podcast, and he was like, "Why don't you bring Coach to the podcast? Because I think he's gonna be a great speaker." And I told him like, "Look, I know that he's gonna give very good highlights and all of that. But I know that once we turn it off, he's not gonna do any of the things that he told me. And for me, that's huge, And I don't want to talk to people like that. Like it doesn't like it's not honest to whoever is listening, or maybe if nobody's listening, I know that that's not the truth, right? And I think it's important for us not only to say everything we're saying, but also do it as well, right? And I hope coaches listen to you and like, yeah, tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Maybe if they're gonna be a little hurt, but it is what it is.
I love what you said there so much. And that resonates with me so much because I have the 1% club, which is it has a different way of viewing things, and we work on a few different things as well, such as I do mentoring for soccer players, for tennis players, for basketball players, but I also have a community that I tell people that they need to work on themselves every day, and I'm the one that leads the pack. So I lead by example. And
Mhm.
I always tell everyone it's not a matter of having a perfect life, having a perfect day, not making mistakes. you are going to make plenty of mistakes. You're going to fail time and time again. But the hardest moments, can you still work on yourself?
Mhm.
Can you still improve by one tiny percent a day? So the question is, can you be self accountable? Can you be true to yourself? And I think there is a lot of that here in the US, is where people are very politically correct.
Mhm.
They say the right things, but they don't do the right things. There are so many hypocrites here that I've had a hard time with this before in the past, working with other coaches, other directors, other co-workers and colleagues, that they would tell something that I know it's not true. So you cannot be saying that to people. And that has put a stop on me a lot of times, because I was so raw, so honest, but I can't go any other way, because that's the way I live my life. So when I tell you to do something, rest assured that I am doing myself. So when
Mhm.
I'm telling you, hey, just work on yourself a little, a tiny bit, there's going to be days that you don't feel like it, but that's the difference between becoming self accountable or continue to blaming others. And I love the fact that you're a lot younger than I am, and the self awareness that you already possess. That's why I'm going to say it again. Not only this guy is very, very smart, but he's very self aware. He knows exactly what goes on inside. He's not a BSer. He does also what he tells people to do. So again, I just wanted to congratulate you, and wherever the conversation takes us now. But I think it's important for people to know that there are people out there who are working on themselves on a daily basis, and they want to help others do the same. You and I are an example of that. That's why you have your podcast now. I have my podcast as well, with the idea to help others realize what they're capable of doing. So if you're always telling people what they want to hear, they're not going to grow. That is not what they need, is what they want. And that doesn't cause growth. Sorry, spoke too much already. Go ahead.
No, 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 you're good. And yeah, I mean, yeah, and just one more thing before we move on. But the coach that helped me the most was the coach that it made me the most uncomfortable, and he would call me out every single time. And I remember
Even though in the moment you hate the guy.
100%, 100%. And I remember my mom was like, second time we were there, my mom was like, "You're not coming back. Like he's crazy, he's rude, he's mean." I was like, "Mom, I need to come back because that's what I need." You know what I mean? Like
I'm
I don't.
growing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. And but anyway, to move on, after I graduated with my master's, I actually before I graduated, when we were done with the spring season, I I got the job at FC Cincinnati, and I moved to Ohio again to Cincinnati, which is uh,
Take me through that process. Do you
yeah,
apply? Are you invited? Do you
mhm,
look up online jobs at professional clubs?
yeah.
What's the process?
Yeah, I mean, I applied online. I was looking online on this website for sports jobs, and I actually applied. I had a call with the manager, but they wanted me to start sooner, and I wouldn't be able to leave Louisiana back then. But we had a great talk, and and then after a while, the position opened again, and she called me, and she was like, "Look, I know you're interested, and I think." You would be a good candidate. So if you want to apply again, and so I did, and I applied again. I got the job. It was I remember calling my mom and she was crying when I got the job.
Oh my gosh, what
And
a
yeah,
moment.
yeah, and it's a part-time job. It's so small, but like it was something so big for me because I mean, and I don't want to be cocky or anything, but like I don't see any other international students doing what I'm doing right now, and because it's like it was so uncertain for me to come here for a part-time job. Like with the money that I make from the team, it probably doesn't even pay my rent, you know? So I have to figure ways out to make things work. Um,
Yeah.
but I was like, I have to go. Like this is an MLS team. I remember playing with this team on FIFA when I was back home. You know what I mean? So like I have to go. My mom supported me, and
So what do? You pack your stuff and you get in on the plane and you say, "Yeah, I'm moving." Do you know where
so
you're staying? What?
yeah, I
Walk
mean
me through that.
yeah, I got the job. I didn't even have a car. So, and I had to buy a car to come here to move my stuff, rent an
Oh, so you
apartment.
drove.
Yeah, I drove. So 16 hours.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
my mom was able to come with to help me. Um, so yeah, I mean, I bought a mini car, so I brought just a
Yeah.
few things. Um, but yeah, I was able to get an apartment that was like cheap enough in a good location. But you know, I didn't even have a bed when I got here because I was living at the dorms. Uh,
Yeah.
so I got
Yeah.
the car and I had to start, going to Goodwill to find furniture for my apartment because I just didn't have anything. Drove here, started working, and I mean I work in community relations, so we go to schools and we take the PE class and we teach the kids soccer. um,
Yeah.
and I mean, I work. Sometimes I'm in the office trying to do more outreach as well. So like trying to connect with the Hispanic population here. If there's any Brazilians, I make an effort to connect with them too. Uh, but yeah, and then coaching on the side as well to help me out and building the athletic school. But I mean, it's a hustle. But like I said before, it's a good hustle. I like it. I wouldn't change anything. So.
Wow, that story is so amazing because a lot of people, what you said before as well about social media and people presenting their life as, oh, it's so wonderful and it's so great. It's basically like a highlight reel, and that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Those
No.
are those are might be some very enjoyable moments that we all have, and we should work hard to have more of those. But the reality of finding a new place, finding a car, driving, getting a bed. Well, now I need bed sheets. I need I don't have any silverware. I don't have a blanket. I don't have a pillow. Well,
Yeah.
what do I do? Like it's so many little steps, and that to me is why it's so important to celebrate the small victories, because a lot of times we take so many things for granted,
Mhm.
or we see and we compare where we are to where someone else is. So maybe there's someone who's thinking about coming to the US now, and they're going to be extremely inspired by your story and say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to do it.
Mhm.
I'm going to go. I'm going to try. I'll see what happens. Look at what Igor is able to do it, how he went from uh, Sao Paulo to first it was Kansas, and then he goes to Missouri, and then he goes to Louisiana, and now he's in Cincinnati. So, guys, like I said before, things don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So if you see him on social media, oh wow, look at this guy. He has a podcast. Oh yeah, his journey might have been easy. People have no idea. They really have no idea about the journey. They might see the destination. And to me, that's who we become in the process.
Mhm.
The process is what's shaping us, and we got to figure it out. And what is next? So you are in Cincinnati. When did you start the athletic school? And tell us, tell me, tell the viewers, tell everyone, what is the athletic school? How did that start? What was the idea behind, and where you are now with it? And then we'll go to where you're taking it now. So take us in that journey.
Yeah, I think I started athletic school in 2021. So when I was in Ohio and I was trying my best to find ways to get better, right? Because I was like, I'm playing very good, and why am I like I was performing good enough, but I wasn't playing. And it got to the point that I was like, okay, there might be something else. And then I started reading books a lot. Um, and I as I'm reading books and I'm like, how is nobody talking about these things, And these things, I mean, like when it comes to mindset, when it comes to the mentality, and I came to the conclusion, and I learned this through books that we can train as much as we want, and we're gonna get to the point that we are gonna be the same, right? But
Yeah,
the only thing that will make us me better or you better, it's our mindset and how we handle stressful situations, how we perform under pressure, and all those things. Um, and that's when I created the athletic school. Like, I don't know how, but I'm just gonna create an athletic school. Let me create this page on Instagram, and I'm going to start sharing things that I've been learning from the books. And then, one of my friends in that school kind of helped me because we were in this. I remember we were in the cafeteria working, and we were washing dishes. Um, and then we took a break to go to lunch, and he came to me like, Igor, so what are we gonna do to become millionaires? And
okay, yeah,
I was like, okay, this is the
yeah,
guy. I need to be close to him. And then athletic school idea came up, and I mean, I'm far away from being a millionaire, but the thing is about the mindset, right? Like if you do the things for the right reasons, I believe they will happen. Um, so I started sharing things on social media, and then the podcast idea came up as well. So we started interviewing some of the athletes that we had at the school. We started talking to each other and just recording ourselves as a podcast as well. Um,
yeah, yeah.
and sharing those things. He was playing volleyball, I was playing soccer, but we were able to. We're both came from Brazil as well. Um, and just trying to share, and throughout the process of learning to share more with people, I think that's the best way that we can learn. It's whenever we teach someone, that's how we learn. So the goal was to kind of like share those things with people, and I think my mission nowadays is to just help athletes think for themselves. You don't have to be the that guy that doesn't go to parties because you are 24/7 grinding, which I love that. But at the same time, if you are just going to parties and you expect to perform in the next day, that's also not going to happen. um and I think we have to find what's the truth for ourselves. What's right for you might not be right for me. And I think it's becoming self-aware of who we are, the world around us, how we see the world. So it's about changing perspectives, seeing the world from another point of view that we are usually not used to. So that's kind of how I take the athletic school, just trying to show people that, like, look, there's other ways to look at this, and there's no right way. There are some things that are very wrong, some things that are pretty right, but at the same time, like, look, everyone is different. A lot of things might work for you, some things might not work for you, but I think we should be able to think for ourselves. Don't let people dictate your thoughts in a way.
That is so beautiful and well said, and also to me is very selfless, because you are basically taking the lessons that you learn, and you have an urge, you have a feeling inside like, oh my gosh, I'm learning this. I want other people to know as well. I have the exact same feeling when I learn something new, and I try to learn something new every day. That's why I read every day. I become 1% better every day. So I want to share with more people. So, how does Igor learn now? Do
Mhm.
you continue to read books? Do you listen to podcasts? What's your favorite way of learning, improving, getting better? Where do you get your motivation for all of that?
I think it's still definitely reading books. I think it's the biggest thing for me. Just because I feel like podcasts sometimes it doesn't come as handy as reading books. I think there's just something therapeutic about reading books, just sitting down and taking the time to read. And going back to trying to be different, I think everyone can listen to a podcast, right? Like when you're driving, when you're working out, and all of that. Not a lot of people read books. Unfortunately, I think I was the average Brazilian. They don't even read one book a year. So I think the biggest thing for me is just like reading, trying to learn as much as I can, and try to make people to read more. I think we can be a better society if people just um, read more. And I think listening to podcasts, it's a wonderful way. And I listen to podcasts all the time. But like for me, I'm like, okay, if I learn this on the podcast, can I get a book about that too? You know what I mean? So I can learn even more. Um, but yeah, definitely reading for sure, books, and I try my best to be out of social media, just because there's so much stuff and we never know what's right, what's wrong. But I
Yeah.
definitely get insights from social media as well. And I mean, that's my main way to share things with people. It's on social media. But maybe if we're doing something good on social media, I guess we're trying to make things a little bit better, not try to just spread a bunch of BS and just trying to get more views or more likes. It's more like adding value to people as well. So
Adding value, that's one thing for sure that I love. And so you are you're a guy that values science. You have, you went to a few different schools, you have your associates, you have your bachelor's, you have your master's. So to me, learning from podcasts is more informal, and
mhm.
learning from books is more scientific, is more formal way of learning. So now take me through. I follow you on social media and I love when you post different things. So one that really caught my attention the other day was when you were talking about the difference between understanding the dopamine release system and the oxytocin. One is the reward mechanism, and
Mhm.
one is more the love hormone, the one where you want to feel part of something. So, can you walk us through what the differences are and how we can access the different parts of our brain that are in charge of releasing those hormones?
Yeah. Again, I'm not a specialist on that, but I've been studying that as much as I can. I had a guest on my podcast to talk about that. Um, so I mean, as much as I learn about those things, I see how driven we are by dopamine, right? So dopamine is the hormone that asks us for more, right? So whenever you don't feel satisfied and like, okay, if I get that thing, I'm gonna feel satisfied. That's the dopamine being released to you. So whenever we're watching reels on Instagram and we are scrolling, um, it's it's very dopaminergic because your brain understands that, like, let me just get one more because that one that is all the way at the bottom might change my life, and then it's a cheap dopamine. So we're trying to always get more, get more, get more, get more. But dopamine is like, whenever dopamine is important. So if we go back in time, that's what made people, the cavemen, to go out and hunt. They were releasing dopamine, but now we don't have to do that anymore. So we get on Instagram and we just scroll. So it's not, we have to be very careful. So it's a good thing, but at the same time we have to be very careful with those things because uh if we are not self-aware, we kind of lose track of things. Can remember the guy that went to the moon.
It's the feel good hormone, but it's supposed to be a task that requires effort in order for the hormone to be released. And
Exactly.
to
So
me, the problem that happens now is without any effort, just basically scrolling, getting a like on
mhm.
Instagram, on Facebook, or whatever, that releases the same hormone that it was supposed to be released when it was a reward for doing something.
Exactly. So whenever we're working for something, so let's bring to the athletes, right? So whenever we're working for something and when we achieve it, We get a lot of dopamine through the process, but once we get it, our dopamine goes down, right? But that's where it becomes important other hormones. So serotonin, oxytocin, that's when hormones that makes us feel good and fulfilled in a way, right? So like, let me enjoy the victory that I just had. Like you're talking about small victories. When you sat down and like, okay, let me just enjoy this and let me not think about tomorrow. That's a good thing, because they call the here and now hormones, right? So yes, we worked hard, we got it. Let me enjoy now, and then I can go back to it. But the problem with not only social media, for so many other things, is um, you keep getting dopamine, 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 but you never enjoy the moment, right? It's just 30-second videos and then you're done. And it becomes a problem when, it comes to our relationships, for example, right? Because now, like, oh, the girlfriend that I have, it's not as good as that one that he has, right? So let me try to get someone else. But then it becomes a cycle and it never ends, right? When we think about like Tiger Woods, very good athlete, won everything possible, right? But then he was so departmeneric that he starts cheating on his wife, right? Because he always wants more, more, more. So it's not only more trophies, it's more victories, but then also more women, more cars, more money, more, and then you become that greedy type of person. And then you get into a cycle that it's very hard to get out. And that can happen with from winning trophies to social media, pornography, drinking. So many, all the habits and bad habits that we have, they come from dopamine. So like drug addicts, it's dopamine that it's being released. But the problem
Oh,
is,
you study nutrition as well? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Even eating can be.
Exactly. So I think it's important for us to understand that, like, okay, let me get the dopamine that gives me something good. So when we're working towards something, it's dopaminergic. So for me, doing podcasts, it's dopaminergic, right? So after we're done, I don't want to think about, oh my God, what next podcast do I have? Right? No, let me enjoy. Let me watch this and like, oh my God, we talked about so many good things, and we were able to connect and share with this many people. Let's just enjoy the moment, right? And then that's when it comes back to some other techniques that we can do in terms of meditation, or not necessarily meditation. We don't have to sit down and think about nothing. That's not how meditation works. It's more about just being fully present in the moment.
Being
Uh,
mindful.
exactly. It's just mindfulness, right? That's what the name some people call it. So it's just being present and not trying to get somewhere every single time you can.
And I think it's the definition of why people focus on the end result and they don't focus on the process. The end result is a spike. It's
Hmm.
one hit,
Yep.
and the process you're going to have prolonged hits. So that's what I call, you really really have to celebrate the small victories and focus on the process, and not just the quick hit, because that's going to go away too fast.
Hmm.
You want something that will last longer. And that's why it's physiologically, we can explain why it is beneficial to focus on the process rather than just getting a quick hit and next, 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 next. You're becoming addicted to that so fast of a feeling that it will go away also so fast. And you're like, what do I need to do to get that again? And learning, reading, challenging yourself, growing, try to figure something out that you don't know how to do. Those are all things that they're going to release the same hormone, but
Hmm.
it's going to be in a much slower pace that you are able to enjoy more, you're able to be more present, you're not going to be looking to chase what's next. So I love the fact that you are able to explain scientifically what we say and we hear all the time, oh, focus on the process, don't focus on the outcome. Okay, it's easier said than done, but
Yeah.
once you are more self-aware, it all comes back to, it's a feeling, and the feeling, it's always inside. The outside stimulates what's going on my inside. And when we are aware of the way things happen, why things happen, you stop just chasing what's next, what's next. And okay, I got one thing right, great. Another one, oh, great. I'm getting better. So I love the fact that you said all of that. And how do you go about your daily life now? What kind of things does Igor do to have more of the dopamine release, of the oxytocin? And going back to my comment earlier about me following you on social media, you you said, okay, this is what I did in order to get more dopamine, and then I went around with friends, I was with community, I was doing something for others, I was serving, so I was trying to balance my own hormones in order to feel better for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us as athletes to understand that before we are athletes, we are human beings, right? And the best way for us to perform in our sports, it's understanding that, right? It's taking care of the human being. I think you do should grind and you should work hard, and more than the average person does. If you wanted to achieve something, you have to be obsessed in a way. But at the same time, you have to understand that those things play a huge role when it comes to
Huge,
performing
huge.
and winning things. So, I mean, I think that the main thing for me right now, I'm training for a half Ironman in August. And I think for me, it's balancing a little bit of those things, right? When do I sleep less and I go work out more, or I just stay in and sleep in a little bit more, right? So um I think the thing for me is, again, it's being present. So whenever I'm going to work out, I go work out. I try to not listen to music. I'm like, okay, I'm here to work out. I'm gonna work out, right? If I'm gonna go to a coffee shop with my fiance, okay, I'm now using my phone. We're talking to each other, and we're being present and spending quality time. And even when I'm by myself, there's in the podcast I talk about that with the guy that I always go to a coffee shop here, and they have a very good muffin, and like sometimes I just go there and I just eat the muffin and I just enjoy the muffin, right? Because I need to enjoy that, like, okay, I got here, the excitement that I get, oh my god, I'm gonna eat the muffin. That's the dopamine talking. But when I get there, I'm gonna enjoy the muffin and like, oh my god, this is so good. And that's when my body release oxytocin and serotonin and makes me feel happy and makes me feel fulfilled in a way. Right? So I think
Yeah, yeah.
uh, it's important to, like, if you want to be on social media. But something that he teach me, it was like, put a timer, right? Okay, I'm tired. I want to get home and I don't want to do anything. Well, put a timer. I'm gonna watch reels on Instagram for 10 minutes, and that's it, right? And after that, I'll go to bed. I'll go do something else. Um, but I think for me, trust me, I'm not perfect. Even though I know those things, I still I still don't do everything perfect. So it's definitely a battle for me. And with work and being all over the place, I just try to be present as much as I can. Yeah, if I'm driving, I try to listen to a podcast once in a while. But sometimes I'm like, I'm not gonna listen to anything. I'm just gonna pay attention on the drive and watch the road in a way. But just finding a little bit of that balance. And since I'm here in Cincinnati, I'm by myself. I don't have as many friends, so it is a little bit complicated. But my fiance
Yeah.
comes here once in a while. But I try my best to, like, okay, if I'm gonna hang out with my friends, I'm gonna hang out with my friends. If I'm gonna sleep, it's time to sleep. It becomes a little bit of a discipline as well, but I think with the mindset that those things help me to my end goal, and that can be the Ironman that I'm gonna do in August. But just like, okay, these things are making me feel better, right? Like, what are the things that are gonna make me feel happier tomorrow, right? I don't wanna be dragging myself around tomorrow. If I'm gonna coach, I wanna bring energy to the players, and even if they're small kids or little kids to high schoolers, I want to be able to give them a good
Be
practice.
fully there. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So I think, it comes back to like, can I enjoy my muffin in peace? Can I sleep 8 hours? Whenever I go work out, can I give my best? Because if I give my best here, then I can ask my players to do the same. And that can go whenever we're coaching, but on your company, on your business, like, look, I need this to be better. I don't know how to fix it, but can we figure it out? So I think it is a little bit of balance, um, and being self-aware, like we talked before. Like, okay, now it's a time for me to grind, or now it's a time for me to just stay home. Let me do a meditation. Let me take an extra nap. I think those things are not only okay, but they are very important in order for us to achieve what we wanted to achieve. I don't know if I answer your question or not.
Absolutely, absolutely did. Do you follow Andrew Huberman as well?
Yeah, I do. I do.
So the NSDR, right? The non-sleep deep rest. It's not a full nap, but
Mhm.
it's not being awake. It's a stage where you're able to close your eyes, and even if it's 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, it fully recharges your battery. So Igor, before we wrap this up, I have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
And one is, you said you're going to compete, you're going to do a half Ironman. In order to commit to do something like that, what level of discipline do you need? Walk me through, or take me through, first a day and then a week. What's the training like? What time do you have a set routine? What time do you wake up? How many miles do you run? How much do you swim? How much do you ride? What does that look like for you right now?
Yeah. I mean, to be completely honest, it is a little bit over the place because my schedule is all over the place, right? But my goal is to put between 10 to 12, 13 hours of training a week. So, for example, this morning I woke up 6:30, I went to the gym and I biked at the gym like 17 miles. Um, and then in the afternoon, I'm gonna go for a run again. Should be like 45 an hour run, so it's not that crazy. um Tomorrow I'll probably do a little bit of biking, but little different trainings, not
Yeah,
the same thing over and over again. And then
yeah,
I'll swim on Wednesday, because that's the day that I have the time to do it. um
yeah.
but whenever I have a bigger time, I'll definitely increase. So that the goal is to always increase the mileage. So the half Ironman is 7.3 miles. So it's like a mile swimming, 56 biking, and 13 running. Um,
Okay.
you have to be able to, like, you're not gonna train the entire thing, but the transition is different, right? Sometimes, like, I can run a half marathon, but at the same time it's very different to run when you're tired after you
Oh
your
yeah.
first 56 miles. So I think the training, it is like, it depends on my goal, right? So my goal is like, I don't want to just finish. I want to go under like 5:30, around 5:30, to finish
Yeah.
the entire event. um
Wow.
but so it does require a lot of training. I still got some time to train and everything, but like you say, it's a slow process. It has to be. I cannot go I cannot get 2% better every day. It has to be 1%, because it like I have a life. as well, right? I have to go to work and I have to coach kids, and and I'm still playing soccer here and there. So those things take time, take energy, and I mean, so I'm a human being. I have to socialize with people as well. So it is finding the balance, but at the same time, like, it's a commitment that I made, and I'm doing it, and I'm doing it no matter what. So, and in order to suffer less on the day there, I have to suffer a little bit every day so I can get there and maybe
Love that.
enjoy the process a little bit, and after I'm done, enjoy even more. So,
And it's a commitment that you made to who? To yourself?
to myself.
Yeah, yeah. That's, guys, again, whoever is watching, listening, make sure that you understand that's the concept of self accountability. When you say you're going to do something, guess what? Do it. That will make you feel better. It's not going to be easy, but it will make you feel better. And my final question for you, and it can be divided in a few different parts if you would like to. I started the 1% Club in my lowest point in my life, and I am very proud to say that because it shaped me exactly to who I am today. It was when I didn't really see light at the end of the tunnel, wasn't really sure what to do next. I could not really focus on anything because everything was falling apart. So all I could focus on was today, doing what I can, doing very, very little, but becoming better than I was the day before. So, was there ever a time in your life, and you've gone through quite a few already at such an early age, where you felt like, besides calling your mom and saying, "Mom, I don't think I can do this," was there ever another time that you feel like my life could have gone completely a different way if I didn't persist, if I didn't continue? What can you go on your path? What can you go back and say to your old self? Hey, you know what, man? Keep going. You're doing great. Would you? So first, take us through, was there ever another moment? And if you could go back and tell your younger self, tell Igor when he was on that bus that it wasn't something that he wanted to do because of all the experiences that you have now, what advice would Igor from today give Igor from the past?
Uh, I think the first question, it's almost like an everyday thing, right? I think, like, I'm never comfortable, and I'm not very proud to say that either. I think there's times and times, um, but I think that day that I called my mom thinking about coming back, that was definitely one day. And I think throughout these years in the US, there's many times that I call my grandparents, and after that I just cried for a good 5 minutes, just sobbing.
Yeah,
And sometimes we don't even know why. I'm just crying, just emotional. Um,
yeah.
I think, I never. I know it can be a tricky topic for people, but, like, I'm sure at a certain point I was depressed. I had depression, but I just, like, it is what it is. For myself, I was like, this is life. I have to keep going. And I saw a podcast this morning. The guy was like, it's not about, like, he was talking about his journey, and he was mentioning how, like, sometimes you think about if you should kill yourself or not, but it got to the point that he was like, how do I kill myself? And then that's when he realized, okay, this is bad, right? And I think, and I don't know, maybe it was just myself and I, but maybe you went through those things, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't think I can make it. Maybe
Oh
it,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
maybe I just jumped from this bridge right now, you know what I mean? And but I think it's a thing that it happens here once in a while when things get hard, and that can be emotionally, financially, and all of that. But then I truly believe that God comes with his hand, and, like, wait a second, we got this. So I think it is a daily thing, but I think there was many, many times I created the athletic school. I remember I was on the couch, and I actually, like, just like you, I didn't know what else to do. I'm like, I wanted to share this with people. I don't know how. I was My relationship was going bad with my girlfriend at the time. I wasn't playing, wasn't making any money, didn't know how I was gonna pay for rent. I was eating just rice and beans to save money. I didn't know how I was gonna pay the school next month. All those things. And I'm in a much different situation now, but those concerns are still concerns as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do think that, life is hard. We just have to pick what kind of hard do we want it to be, right? What kind of problems do you want to have in your life? It's feeling like you could have done more, or is it like, man, I don't know how to figure this out, but let me just keep trying. Maybe not the answer that you were looking for, but I think that's an honest answer. Um,
No, there's no answer that I'm looking for. We're learning from each other, and I love that answer.
Good, good. And I think for the second question, um, I wish I had something beautiful to say, but I think I learned that everything is gonna be okay. I know it sounds a little cliche, but I think I've learned. So when I moved to Cincinnati, I actually had a problem with my visa that I wasn't able to work for a long period of time. But like, and my bills were like today, and like if I don't work today, I might not be able to do things tomorrow. Um, and I didn't know what was gonna happen. But then things start showing up, and it's not that I wasn't doing anything different besides praying and trying my best in everything, every way possible. But things started to happen, right? And at this moment in my
Some way, somehow.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
And at
yeah,
this point in my life, I learned that like if I'm doing my best, things will fall into place. Um, and I try to compare myself to some other people in terms of like, look, there's so much other problems that I could be going through, right? I saw the other
oh
day
yeah,
two guys talking about like, look, if I go to a restaurant and I order a beef sandwich and the guy brings me a salad with chicken, I just eat it, right? Because I cannot stress myself about those things. And of course, that's a very huge example, general, that
yeah, yeah,
doesn't apply to everyone. But at the same time, like, yeah, like I still have something to eat tomorrow. I'm gonna figure something out. Like we're living in a house. I have the fan is going on, the AC is on. I can walk. I can figure something out. And I think if I could go back to myself and say something like, look, it's gonna get bad, it's gonna get worse, but it's also gonna get better.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's what it is.
That's absolutely the things that I like to tell everyone is it's not a matter of avoiding the difficulties, it's a matter of learning how to deal with them when they come, and they will come. It's a matter of fact. The only constant is change. After the night, the day comes back. After the fall, there's spring, and then summer, and then the fall comes around, and it's a cycle. Life is a cycle, and it's a beautiful cycle. And as long as we're healthy, as long as we're alive, we are always looking to grow, to improve, to get better. Igor, an absolute pleasure. And before I wrap this up, any final words, any message, anything that you would like to share with anyone? And how can people find you? What's the best way for them to find Igor and the athletic school?
Yeah, I mean, to find me on the athletic school is just the athletic school on all social medias. You can find the podcast, the athletic school podcast, on Spotify, YouTube. Um, to find myself is just Igor Acorinte on all social medias as well. But the only thing I want to say, Thales, is just thank you for being open for me to share my story. I think it means a lot that you took the time to do it. Um, I loved our first podcast, and I think the reason I loved is because um, I think we think almost in the same way. We just use different words, and I absolutely love that. And I'm able to connect and seeing someone else coming from Brazil. Um, like I could see your face whenever I was talking, and you were feeling related in a way, and I think that's huge for me. And I think there's people that maybe come here or whatever, they have difficult times at their lives, but they choose to give up in a way, or to go back to normal, and you didn't take that path, and I'm choosing not to take that path as well. And I think it's just I'm just so happy. And we're talking about dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, and I get all those hormones when I'm talking to you, because I relate to every single thing you're talking about, especially knowing that you are a person that you are doing those things. You are not just talking about it, right? When we did the first podcast, you said, "Oh, I want to do a podcast as well," and here we are. You're doing it, right? But there's so many people that came to me and like, "Oh, how you do the podcast? I want to do a podcast too." I haven't seen any of their podcasts out yet. You know what I mean? But you did it. So leading by example, seeing the example that you're doing things the way you're saying things that should be done, I think that's huge. So thanks for taking the time to talk with me, to share with the world a little bit of the things that you do and know. And just I'm like, I don't know. I hope I get your age and I'm just as open minded as you are, because I don't know, you're being open minded to things that I'm saying, and I'm half your age, and you're just open to learn from me, and I hope I can be that as well whenever I get older. So just thank you.
Thank you. No, beautifully said. Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, watching, make sure you like, subscribe, follow us. The 1% Club podcast is an absolute pleasure to be here. And my final words for everyone here is my three mantras: one more day, one more battle, 1% better. One more day is every day is a blessing from God that we're here, we're alive, we're awake, we're aware. It's an opportunity to work on ourselves. We can all improve, even if it's just by a little bit. One more battle is recognizing and learning that the battle is always within. It's you against yourself, your fears, your insecurities, your lack of confidence, whatever you might be feeling. Learn how to overcome that on a daily basis. And 1% better is, guys, don't feel like you have to have all the answers. Don't feel like you have to conquer the world in a day. That doesn't happen. That is not reality. Work on yourself, even if it's 1%, but do your best, do what you can today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here, Igor. Great pleasure. And
Thank
we
you.
will see you guys next time. Thank you
Yeah.
again.